Hello everyone and welcome to the next in our series of Heads Up. Today I am so excited to introduce Nikki Schreiber, who is currently in America, in New York. And Nikki runs, single-handedly organizes Humans of Judaism. And if you've not yet heard of Humans of Judaism, go now, check out the Facebook pages, the Instagram pages, sign up for the website, the newsletter. It's incredible. She's going to tell us all about it today. So welcome, Nikki, to London. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Good morning, good afternoon. Okay, Nikki, so tell us, what is Humans of Judaism?
So Humans of Judaism is a social media-based Jewish brand. It's something that I started almost 7 years ago. Coming up this June will be 7 years since I published my first post. What it is sort of a feel-good social media account. As I'm sure all of us could agree, the internet has a variety of different content. More often than not, it's sometimes some challenging things to look at. And I really wanted to put something out there that was more positive and sort of more of a feel-good kind of energy on social. Specifically, I started the page in memory of my father. So my father passed away suddenly in November of 2013. And at the end of November, at the end of November 2013. And I really, as time was passing through the Iyar of Avelis, I wanted to sort of do something meaningful in his memory. Something, I didn't know what I had within my own bandwidth to sort of, I had different siblings doing other, just different kinds of, the things that we do during that time with tzedakah and just different things within the community. And I just wanted to find something that I could do. And I just had this idea one day to put together this page, not really knowing how or what or any of it, but giving it that energy that I wanted it to be something in memory of my father and, throw sort of something at the wall and see what sticks. So in June 8th, 2014, I posted the first post on Instagram. And I really was trying to start with content that was realistic. And I just started to look around and see if I can find any interesting stories or things that were going on. And it happened to be that was the summer of the kidnapping of Gilad, Iyar, and Naphtali, and then the start of Operation Protective Edge. So needless to say, it was quite an emotional summer for the global Jewish community. If you remember, we were all really, I think we all just felt all of that, and we were all together in our, our davening and everything. And somehow, the page itself during that summer wound up being a source of strength and chizuk. And, I myself, I'm in Avelis. I was looking to start my day, with a strong headspace. Anyways, this certainly presented that opportunity. So fast forward a little bit past the summer, and Humans of Judaism just all of a sudden had 10,000 followers on Instagram. And I was just like, wow. I mean, this was 2014. So you could imagine it was just such a sizable growth and just the response was just seeming to be, not always do we put something out there and it's received in the spirit and then the intention. And this somehow was just, I really was grateful that, people really just were receiving it in that same energy and really wanted to embrace the, those feel-good stories or moments that, that I was starting to capture and get out there. So as my year of Avelis came to a close in November, and it was about 6 months or so, having done this project, I was kind of like, okay, now what? And I stuck with it and just kept sort of going with the page and following its energy. And really just at some point I always say, I'm like, it's not even my page. It's like, it's a community page. And I feel like I just work here, and I just started to just go with the flow and continue to see that I can do so much more in my father's memory with, with my time and my community contributions and my partnerships and organization involvements and tzedakah and all these different avenues, that it wound up just shaping up into what it is today. So now fast forward, to almost 7 years later, it's just beyond anything that I could have ever expected.
How many followers do you have on Instagram now?
Instagram is over 200,000. Facebook is at 160,000, and just it has such a reach that just always boggles me and really gives me a great sense of responsibility. A real, it's reflective of what people want to see. You think people want these grabby headlines of these terrible stories, but people really want to see the good stuff. They want to celebrate. Right. They really want to celebrate our community's good stuff. I'm always marveled with the spectrum of visitors and followers. When I first started, I spoke on the page the way I speak. I say Shabbos, I say, Gejentif, I say, and as the page started to evolve and I started to see different engagement and correspondence, I started to notice, I'm like, wow, this is a bit of a broader section. I should probably speak in more global lashon, if you will. So I started becoming a person, like I say, Shabbat Shalom, it's Passover, things like that, because I started to realize that this isn't just, sitting around the Shabbos table here. We have added guests and we want people to learn and understand, because I didn't want it to be, I find that as a modern Orthodox person, we have an added responsibility, because I think people sometimes have judgment and think that we're in this club that's not inviting, where if anybody knows the heart of the Orthodox community, it's such an open door, and please come sit at our table. So I thought I had also a responsibility to make this just a completely inclusive environment on social media. There was no secrets. I didn't want to make it seem like, oh, we're doing this or that and you're not going to understand it. I really wanted people to see and join us, and so it's fascinating, because I just I consider it an apolitical page. It's really meant to be focused on our Jewish moments and our history and education, and it has become this place where just the cross section of followers, and Jewish, not Jewish, observant, not observant,
everyone.
Everybody, community members, and then there's celebrity followings that are just so mind-blowing, organization followings, press followings, and engagements that have just completely blown my mind, and have really said to me, hey, you really,
needed,
right? Can do anything.
And also it's something that was definitely lacking, and something that was needed, and you filled a gap. So I've got a question. There's so many questions based on what you were saying. So number one, how did you come up with the name Humans of Judaism? Where did it come from? I know there's like Humans of New York, and was it a play on that? Like how did it come from?
So Humans of New York is a fascinating project. It's run by somebody who is a street photographer, something I am not. And it was really trying to capture that same, that essence more directly. I thought it was a very interesting environment, and I just thought it would be really cool if we could concentrate on our community and highlight those wonderful moments. At the time, and even to this day, and Dar Ladar, it seems that our community is just so easy to pick at and tell more difficult stories. People are looking for those other kinds of headlines. And I was thinking, it'd be so interesting. Well, also having seen some posts of our community of outwardly overt Jews on Humans of New York, and noticing that the comment section wasn't as kind to our stories, it just grabbed me. And I was just thinking, like, wouldn't it be great if there was a more loving, welcoming environment for our stories? And I just thought, let me try this. But the problem is I'm not a photographer, a street photographer, or any photographer. That's, and how was I going to manage this potentially even on my own? So I just started it without really putting much thought into it. I just figured, let me take a picture that already has been taken. And I had a few different friends online from various backgrounds that I said, can I, like I'd see they'd have a post, somebody would just post themselves in tefillin. I'd be like, and they'd say something interesting. And I'd say, is it okay if I, can I publish this on my little page called Humans of Judaism? And, and they're like, of course, sure, go, who even cares about my little tefillin post? Yeah, sure, take it. And I started to, and then with that, summer with the boys, Gilad, Ayel, Naphtali, people wanted to say more about those boys. And then you get to sort of profile these sort of people in our community that have become public figures in the moment. So that started shaping out my storytelling and my own format that was different from that street photography. Yeah. So that's where Humans of Judaism, the name came from, and sort of the shape out of some of the ideas. Right. The best part of it was having more of the participation of the community.
So I was going to say, so in a regular week, what would somebody who subscribes or likes or follows you, what would they see on a typical week on your page? Like, what kind of posts would be popping up for us to see?
So I have a real devotion and passion. Certainly over the years, it's even strengthened. I find that I have a great commitment to sharing Holocaust history. The more people are trying to say otherwise, deny or different things, and as that population is aging out, the stories, the history, the testimony, to me, is just so important to the global community. Israel history, education. They're also trying to tell us that's not true. And it's important to me to share those facts, share that history. My mother's mother was born in Yerushalayim. She was named in the Churva Shul, and she was 7th generation Yerushalmi. So my family has been in Yerushalayim for so many generations. So I guess I take it a bit personally when I hear people suggesting that we haven't been there. So so if you're going to my page in a week, you're going to at least find some Holocaust history, testimony, or a birthday celebration of a survivor, which is my favorite. I find it so wonderful that very often you're going to find 100-year-old birthday celebrations from someone who's been to Auschwitz and back and has built a family and can tell us, the other side of a difficult story, but the resilience and the fact that we're still here is just a wonderful story. In between something, pictures of Israel, history of Israel. It is a great honor and privilege to have a partnership and friendship with the government press office, with Nefesh B'Nefesh, with a lot of these wonderful organizations that you get to have, and Yad Vashem, and you get to have these wonderful images and stories and history, from those who've really been documenting it. So that's what you'll typically see. And then there's always my favorite, which is often the stories that come directly from the followers.
People will submit things to you. People will see things. Wow.
I get a lot of feedback that I never advertise myself. Like, you're never going to see me saying, sometimes in my stories, I'll say, oh, do you have any stories like this? If I just posted something that got a nice response. I want to hear more. I want to know about where everyone's from, their family. We're so rich with history from around the world. Another thing you'll often see on the gallery is going to be tefillin. One of the things that I also captured over the years, which just sort of happened upon the page. I started posting tefillin selfies, if you will. I call them telfies, a hashtag telfie.
I remember that. I remember.
And it's been wild because the followers both live all around the world and travel. So you'll find people that, say they go on vacation with their families to these interesting tropical places. And it's so meaningful because a part of that, just part of their life, the fabric is bringing your talis and tefillin with you. And, when you have the proud family members, it's always the mom and the wife who's always just taking a picture of the bar mitzvah boy and sending it in, and you'll see, oh, this is my husband, we're on vacation, we're doing this, or this is so meaningful seeing my daughter and my sons just watching their father daven in the mornings, and these exotic places. And then I also became friends with, possibly the best friend a gal like me can have in this instance is a photographer, a friend of mine. His name is Bensi Sasson, and he is Lubavitch, and he does a lot of work with Chabad. So he's certainly traveling to lots of environments around the world with tefillin. I have pictures of him personally at Machu Picchu, the Taj Mahal. We have tefillin. So you started getting these pictures of tefillin. So as I posted it, people were like, I post these pictures, say, from Bensi, from this, professional photographer. And then all of a sudden someone will be on vacation and they'll send it to me, and I'll get these wonderful, honest photos.
I remember seeing on my friend's Instagram accounts the whole Telfie, like the hashtag Telfie, and it's so funny. I didn't even realize that it came from you. It's so funny how it spread so far and wide. It's amazing.
It's fun, and it's so people really are able to participate. It's Jewish pride. That's what it's so funny. It's not even just Jewish pride, because I think there's a lot of people really do wear their Jewish pride in a variety of ways across the spectrum, as we've said. But within our community, I find it more fascinating when we're allowed to share our traditional Jewish pride and those fundamental moments. I love getting a nice candle lighting photo and just different imagery of our traditions that we are unapologetic for, really proud of, and it's the heart and soul. And I think that the followers, both observant, not Jewish, they really love seeing us embrace and celebrate our culture. And that is fascinating, because I can share a tefillin photo or imagery of a Hasidic family or somebody, all together around the table. And then you have, I'm trying to think of a different type of moment, something, some different celebrities or different things that are, it's just such a different cross section of,
and that's what Judaism is. That's exactly what Judaism is about. It's about having the cross spectrum. So you've mentioned so many moments that I actually remember seeing myself. It's so funny talking about them now. But are there any posts that you've posted recently that have just you are really meaningful or have had a huge response, more than you ever imagined, and anything that was particularly meaningful to you?
So it's very interesting. I feel like I also connect with every post. It's always so funny. Because these are often very real people, it's, someone's going to send me, they're going to trust me. And I take that responsibility seriously. They'll trust me with the photo of their family, their zaidi, their grandfather, their child. And in these really pure moments. And I also monitor the comments section. I treat it as if it is my own family. And so a lot of the stories also really will grab me in a way that I just can't even describe, because you're part of this wonderful moment. More recently, right around the time you and I actually connected, I was just a bit busier than my norm, because the management is so significant, to just manage the comments and all the different moving parts, of each moment. So a friend of mine in Israel sent me, people just forward me content often, hey, did you see this? You might be interested in this, or this is so Humans of Judaism. So a friend of mine shared with me this amazing story that was unfolding on Twitter. And it was about this jelly, Bon Mammon, the jam. And it was just a picture of the jar of jelly. By the way, every viral post that I've had, just so that everybody who's listening out there that wants hot tips on, what works, on what makes something viral, each of them really break the rules that I know and hold by. So this one was just a photo of a jar of this jelly, of just this nondescript Bon Mammon. There's no person in it. There's nothing else. And it was an encounter with somebody in a New Jersey supermarket with this woman, this older woman, a Holocaust survivor, who was couldn't reach the bun maman on the shelf and got some assistance from this person. She was telling why she got this specific jam. And it was because the family that owns Bon Maman was, helped to save Jewish families and during the Holocaust. They're a very private family. And this is, a lot of this is from testimony from those who they were saved, that were saved. And people were just so fascinated because they hadn't heard this before. They were also fascinated that there's people out there that do these wonderful acts of kindness that don't necessarily, they maintain their privacy on it. They just do,
right?
Which is just hard to imagine. And it's so wonderful. So sure enough, I posted it, probably I'd say a day after everybody else had posted it. It's been already out there. I'm like the last one, and about an hour later, it's just booming more than my normal. And I see that a celebrity had shared the Instagram post on his stories, through Humans of Judaism, to go click on my little post and read this story. And that itself, set off a whole ripple effect, the good kind of ripple effect that you just never expect, with so much exposure. It just different influence pages I admire. People I admire were sharing this post, were engaging with this post. It was like all of a sudden, and it was over the course of a few days, and all of a sudden the followers were growing. It wasn't just people thought this was a great post. Listen, we all connect with posts. I'll see a video of, a cat doing something silly. I think it's the funniest thing. I forward it to everyone, but I don't go follow the page. And here I'm thinking, I'm like, wow, this is getting more of that Hollywood exposure, this like global, and you're thinking, but my page, my last few posts was just the post right before it was somebody wearing tefillin in Las Vegas and pictures of Yerushalayim, had like a crazy snowfall 100 years before. I mean, I was wearing my heart on my sleeve. And all of a sudden I was getting tens of thousands of new followers.
Wow.
and participation and celebrity followers. I was like, they follow me and they're still following. And I'm like, hey, wow, they still care about what's being posted. And it's to me, a lot of people, the immediate follow-up for me is, a lot of people want to capitalize and, sell their cookbook or sweater or whatever it is that they're, pitching. And I'm a storyteller. Right. My excitement was, the people are excited about it. And I wanted to just tell more stories,
Yeah, because I think what people love about Humans of Judaism is that, what I love about it is that, first of all, it's so varied. So it's not always the same content every day. You don't know what's going to pop up. And also the things that you're sharing, it's so genuine and you can tell you're so passionate about it. And it's not, again, you're not selling anything. It's just, you're selling Judaism. You're selling, it's like the ultimate Kiddush Hashem. You're just trying to sanctify God's name, sanctify the religion, and show the rest of the world how incredible Judaism can be and highlight the good parts of it. So you've mentioned obviously an incredible story, which I remember seeing. I remember this whole thing unfolding. Have you, obviously, as you mentioned before, I've got so many followers. Have you had any negative feedback from anything that you've been posting, or any, comments that have not been so? Because I remember you mentioned about Humans of New York, where there was not such great comments about the Jewish people on it. So have you had anything on your page that has been particularly hard for you to swallow?
So there's nothing out there that's not going to have and yield some percentage of a negative result. I always use this example because it really illustrates it. I always say to everybody, I can post a beautiful picture of a sunset and it'll get a wonderful response, like, what a beautiful sunset. But there's going to always be that one person that's going to comment and say, the sun gives you skin cancer. Right. So, there's always going to be that percentage. In its total over 7 years, it's not an accident that I have a very small margin of negative feedback. It's not just because I put out nice stories. I maintain an environment, and I do with intention curate stories and that total culture of negativity is not tolerated here. This is a safe space to embrace whatever the story is. And I'm not always telling these wonderful stories. Very often it's condolences, which is, or even just what I started off with the Gilad, Iyar, and Naphtali. It wasn't that it's, it's finding the silver linings, because as Jews, we know that we're consistently facing difficult moments, and really just trying to grow from those moments, learn and be better people. And doing that, yes, I'll get kickback if I post my my unapologetic pride for my love for the state of Israel, the land of Israel, our history. There's a lot of negativity out there. So I just try to stay in the positive zone, but not as much negativity as one would think. Because again, I'm not also posting provocative content that's antagonizing anybody, because it's a wide open space. We're here to celebrate one fundamental item, and that's the focus is our Judaism. And I think that's what maintains a more positive majority that doesn't have a lot of room for that negative feedback.
Right. So over COVID, you must have had very different content, obviously, from what you're used to. It must have been hard to filter all the stuff that you probably were receiving from people, and the images must have been quite emotional. Were there any posts that you remember over the COVID experience that really stands out?
It was an interesting time, because I always feel that I have this responsibility. I have a name it's not my personal name, this page. It carries the name Judaism. And I find it to be, I think the same way we have this responsibility when we're wearing a kippah anywhere, or, going somewhere, you have to carry Kiddush Hashem. And, carrying this badge of this name has added a sense of responsibility. So, I'm fascinated with these moments that challenge me, because I'm just this person trying to do my very best. And I'm very comfortable with making mistakes. I have my PR line ready. I'm just human. But, even this, a pandemic, COVID, people were having so many different emotional responses. We're in a trauma. I'm very sensitive to that. I work in healthcare with one of my other hats. So I tried to be very sensitive to that, also with the content I was putting out during a time that people really needed the strength. I also wasn't able to use older content. You can't repurpose those pictures from a bit before. As we started wearing masks, it was foreign images. So it really was about producing new content. But it started just coming together, as it all seems to do on humans. I just work here. So it's sort of, it's a matter of a few ingredients. And for my formula, it's, paying attention to current events, following, just what's going on, having that inbox open for the real people to be sending in what's going on. And that's how it just starts. And so some of the content that was posted during that time was what was going on in Israel. It was around, Pesach, showing what it looked like. I remember posting somebody reading Megillas Esther for that first, for Purim of last year, and having that imagery, having an image of what the Kotel looked like for Berchas Kohanim last Pesach was unique. There were imagery that we just never saw. I remember one of the first things that I posted that I'm going to be posting shortly on its 1-year anniversary, which I think is within the next week, there was a photographer that went out and took photos of the empty streets of it was so fascinating seeing just, Mamila Mall, all these different vibrant areas. It's almost heartbreaking, but we knew it was unique imagery that hopefully we shouldn't ever see again. But it was an interesting time, and I just rolled with whatever I received. But I was trying to share the more positive moments. I was sharing the moments when people were on their balconies clapping for the for the EMTs and medical workers in Israel, and there were moments that we were really able to just, keep each other supported.
Wow. I think what I find so incredible about your page is that really it started, as you said at the beginning, from nothing. You had an idea in your head, you wanted to do something good for your father's memory, and it just started from a few people, and now you've got hundreds of thousands of people that follow you, Jews, non-Jews, everybody across the spectrum. And I think that what you're doing is such a Kiddush Hashem, because as we said, the media, unfortunately, I've been following the American news about the TV shows that have been portraying Jews in not such a kind way. And there's so much of that out there. And it's incredible that you've created this space. And as you said, a really safe space that, you know, when you click on and you see a post, it's going to make you feel good and proud of your Judaism. I think it's such an incredible thing that you've done. And I really just, to end off, I should say, the program that we've created here is called Heads Up, and it's really about giving chizuk and inspiration, keeping our heads up for the month ahead on when we release on Rosh Chodesh. So really, I would like to end with what words of inspiration, with all this, you know, your experience that you've just had over the past 7 years with this incredible page. What can you give us as some chizuk to go into the next month ahead?
I think it's important to know that no matter what it is that you want to do, you just do it. As I mentioned, the things, the milestones that I've reached on the page, with its reach and with our, you know, with the goal in mind, has far exceeded anything I thought I could do. Beyond. But you just put it out there and you just do. And I also, you know, I appeal to my partner. I ask Hashem for help. And I just recommend that if there's something you want to do out there, do it. Just to give you a light example, posting on humans has reached beyond, you know, it's somewhat magical, but the things that have been accomplished in my father's name that I've been able to do, you have some of my favorite celebrities. The president of Israel reposted my posts. Jerry Seinfeld reposted my post. I mean, that's to us, that's pretty royal in our household, you know. But it's it's connecting with these organizations that I've always admired, and you know, and just all these things that are just really show that, you know, you can reach the stars. You just have to, you know, stand on your tippy toes sometimes, you know. And the fact that I'm also doing something that doesn't seem like it would be so well received and so popular should really be more of the essence for you to understand that it's, you know, I'm posting pictures of tefillin. I'm posting stories about our history. I'm posting, you know, good Shabbos while we're lighting our candles. And it's just such a warm embrace. Just keep being honest to ourselves without apology. Enjoy our traditions, embrace them, and do the things for the community. Just do, and the rest will follow.
Thank you so much. If anybody wants or is not yet following, they can follow on Facebook and on Instagram, and you can sign up for the newsletter. Just type into Google Humans of Judaism and everything will come up. I get it every week and I highly recommend it. So from all of us in London, Nikki, thank you so much for giving up your time. And it was lovely to speak with you, and have a wonderful month to everyone. And looking forward to seeing you all at the next session.
Chodesh Tov.